The year was 1866, and H.O. Beatty, an official of the newly created state of Nevada, was worried. According to a new law just passed by the state's fledgling legislature, Beatty would no longer be receiving his $7,000 a year salary in gold. Instead, he and two other officials with similar positions would now receive payment for their services in greenbacks. The more H.O. Beatty thought about it, the more perturbed he became. According to the newly drafted Nevada Constitution, his salary had been fixed at $7,000 annually and was to be payable in gold coin. Now, thought Beatty, the Nevada legislature had the unmitigated gall to pass a new law ordering his salary to be paid in greenbacks instead. This was certainly no way to treat a loyal servant to the state. His concerns were very real. Although the Civil War had just ended, its economic effects lingered on, in the form of inflation and a fluctuating dollar. Face value aside, the truth of the matter was that $7,000 in greenbacks was simply worth less than $7,000 in gold. And then, too, Nevada was about to enjoy the bonanza years of the fabulous Comstock loan, which between 1864 and 1881 would pour out millions of dollars worth of gold and silver. Gold, not greenbacks, excited the hearts and minds of Comstock-era Nevadans, and Beatty was not immune. As Mr. Beatty pondered the inequity of the situation, another thought struck him. Not only was the new law certainly unfair, it was unconstitutional as well. In fact, the Nevada Constitution stated that the legislature could not reduce the salaries of officials such as Mr. Beatty during their terms of office. Yet paying such officials in greenbacks obviously did just that. H.O. Beatty set out to remedy the situation. He sued the state treasurer. His case was first heard in the Second Judicial Court, presided over by Judge C.N. Harris. Beatty was pleased with the result. The trial court ruled in Beatty's favor. The treasurer must pay Beatty's salary in gold. But things didn't end there. The state treasurer appealed all the way to the Nevada Supreme Court, and suddenly what might otherwise have been a routine lawsuit became a peculiar bit of Nevada history. You see, H.O. Beatty wasn't just any state employee. He happened to be the Chief Justice of that very same Supreme Court. Mindful as he was of the sensitivity of the issue, nonetheless, Chief Justice Beatty was unwilling to relinquish his position. He was determined that the state should pay him in gold. And so on the date set for the oral argument of the case, Justice Beatty excused himself from the bench and argued his own case at great length before his own court. After citing and reviewing the provisions of the Constitution and statutes and the various other legal authorities cited in the briefs, he vigorously asserted that the state treasurer had a legal obligation to pay his salary, not in greenbacks, but in gold. As difficult as the case was becoming for Justice Beatty, perhaps the person most perplexed by the matter was Justice James F. Lewis. Just 2 years before, at the age of 29, Justice Lewis had been one of the 3 men elected to service on this, Nevada's first Supreme Court. As dedicated as he was to the duties of fairness and objectivity, Justice Lewis was also perfectly aware that the party arguing the case before him was not just any litigant, but his own colleague, his senior in age and experience, not to mention the Chief Justice. Justice Lewis could not help but imagine any number of uncomfortable scenarios which his decision would create, no matter which way he ruled. As it turned out, Justice Lewis rose to the challenge. His written opinion, containing equal measures of deference and legal scholarship, was a model of both judicial wisdom and diplomacy. He ruled in favor of not his distinguished colleague, but the state treasurer. Whether the outcome of the case influenced Justice Beatty's decision to retire in November of 1868, nearly 2 months before the end of his term, is unclear. One fact that history does provide us, however, is that when Chief Justice H.O. Beatty collected his final payment for his services to the court, it was counted out not in gold, but in greenbacks.